Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk Live, the show where my guests and I explore what it looks like to live a sustainably healthy life as mothers for ourselves, in the home, and in the community. I'm your host, Coach Connie Pastorius, founder of Pastorius Fitness, online coaching for overwhelmed New York City moms who are ready to get stronger, gain energy, and reclaim their health so they can take their lives from chaos to crushing it. I'm also the founder and woman in charge of Strong as a Mother online community, a Facebook group whose mission is to redefine and set the new standard for what online fitness and nutrition support for moms should be. So do me a favor and drop a 1 in the comments if you're watching live, or a 2 if you're catching the replay. Either way, don't be shy. It's never too late to add your voice to the conversation. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the link in the description of this video to join a community of busy, awesome moms just like you. So like, share, and subscribe to the show so I know that you want to keep getting more of this awesomeness each and every week. Now, let's get to the reason why we're all here. I'm so excited for you to meet today's guest because she and I are on the exact same page about the value of planning ahead. Like me, she also believes meal planning and cooking healthy, delicious meals doesn't have to take a ton of time, effort, or expense. And if that wasn't enough, my guest is also a cooking instructor, has 20 years of experience in the food service industry, and is the author of Easy Sheet Pan Cookbook. Please welcome to the show, fellow New York City mama, Ruthy Kirwan. Good morning, Ruthy.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm already 1 cup of coffee in and I'm feeling great. So first question, Ruthy, what's in the cup?
I am drinking coffee, obviously. For me, I'm a big coffee drinker. I get made fun of a lot because I have a penchant for really good quality flavored coffee. So this is like a cinnamon nut flavored coffee with cashew milk.
Oh, excellent. So
yeah.
I am all about drinking whatever it is that makes you happy. So can you tell me what the brand is of this coffee?
This is a brand local to my hometown in Northern Michigan called Leland Roasting Company. But whenever I'm in Northern Michigan visiting my parents, or we spend a lot of our summers up here, I will come home with, I'm not kidding, probably 20 bags of it. And that will last me at least like a couple months. Yeah, close. Yeah, I'm kind of snobby about it because I don't like flavored coffees from Starbucks or sweetened coffees or anything like that, but I really like it when it's got a good flavor like in the roast. So
yeah, like it just like brings out the flavor of the coffee.
Yeah, it just kind of jazzes it up, and it's not in a sweet way, but it's a lot extra punch. I like good coffee, but partial to a good flavored coffee.
Same. That's funny that you mentioned that your hometown's Michigan. You're there right now. I have some clients who went and visited family in Michigan, and they drove the long way through Pennsylvania.
That's how we usually go.
A 1,000,000-hour drive.
It's the longest. Pennsylvania is not bad. It's Ohio that'll get you, because that's nothing.
I love that you said that. I'm from Pennsylvania, so I think that's hilarious. But so exit, I'm guessing you take I-80, exit 100 is Du Bois, where I got a lake house.
And I know exactly where that is. That's gorgeous there.
It's awesome. And I bring a ton of coffee from New York to the lake house, like 20 bags, because it's kind of a middle of nowhere. There's not a Starbucks. There's not a ton of anything. So I kind of like squirrel away about a week's worth of coffee. But That's awesome. I like you. I love really high quality coffee,
Yeah.
but I can't afford to drink really high quality coffee for the
Not every
volume
day.
that
Yeah,
I
no.
consume. So
Yeah.
when I like today, I'm having Mayorga coffee. It's a big bag that Costco sells. So I
Okay.
alternate between like giant, delicious, economical coffee
Yeah.
with fun creamer. So I have this
Yeah.
silk oatmeal cookie flavored
Oh,
creamer that one of my personal training clients dragged me into, and I
oatmeal
absolutely,
cookie. That sounds right up my alley. I like that. That
it's
sounds good.
excellent, and I could probably keep talking about this for another hour, but I really, I'm just like you, drink whatever it is that makes you feel good. So
Agreed.
I'm excited to have this conversation and to share a lot more about you. So let's start at the beginning. You have something that not a lot of people can put on their resume. You have 20 years in the food and service industry.
Yeah.
What's the Cliff Notes version of how you started versus where you're at now?
Well, I started off thinking I wanted to be a big hardcore chef, like working in professional kitchens and everything. I went to culinary school. I lived in Ireland for a while on my work experience, my internship from college, which is how I met my husband. And then cooking kind of was always a thing that I loved doing, but I didn't pursue it hardcore once we were traveling. I lived in Baltimore for a while. I worked in catering for a bit. I had my own catering thing going on for a bit. And then when we moved to New York City in 2010, I got a job working for Food 52 as a recipe tester. So all of the recipes that came onto their website, I started doing their recipe testing for that. And I worked with them for probably 5 or 6 years. And on the offside, I began working freelance, developing recipes for brands and companies like when you go to a grocery store and there might be a new product and they have those little postcards with a recipe on the back.
Yeah.
Those would be the recipes that I did. I also worked with gadgets, like I worked with a baby food maker. I've worked with off-brand pressure cooker companies. So those the recipes that come in the manuals, I've
Yeah,
done a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
those as well. And so just kind of built up from my past experience doing the catering and kitchen work and culinary school, kind of built it into this freelance thing, which was really helpful when my kids came along. My daughter was born in 2014, and right before that, my husband opened up our first bar in Manhattan. So I was able to, anybody who knows in the food industry, if you're married and you're trying to have a family, one person's typically got to stay home because the restaurant hours are so insane. So luckily I was able to parlay all that freelance work into working from home. And then very long story short, took all of that experience, had postpartum depression with my daughter. And once I kind of came out of that, realized that meal planning, meal prep, simple recipes, everything were very much my kind of like grounding mechanism to feeling like I was a little bit more in control of my life once the postpartum depression started subsiding. So I launched a website and launched an Instagram profile, and then from that eventually became a cookbook author. So it was this very very
That's,
roundabout,
that's great.
yeah.
I love that you mentioned like your postpartum journey, and I think that's a conversation that should be more common and
Yeah.
more comfortably discussed. I also experience, postpartum hormone fluctuations, and I don't even know if it's even over yet. But it sounds like you found what worked for you and what kind of got you out of that dark place, and you
Yeah.
decided that you wanted to share this with other
Yeah.
moms.
Oh,
That's
absolutely. Absolutely. Like I despite all of my experience working in restaurants and working through meal plans and everything and planning out a day and planning out a weekend, I didn't know how to do it for myself. I couldn't like bring all of that information down into a workable element for my own family. And once I kind of figured that out and was able to call on my professional experience as well as my mom experience, I that's the kind of path that I went towards with my website and with helping other parents and everything.
That's so cool. I have this kind of belief that every mom, every woman has a particular set of skills,
Yeah.
and the more that you know yourself and the more that you understand what your strengths are and what you're good at and how you work best, that is, one of the ways that you can start to create this new functional life that works for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And building on your own skills to create something that's customized and works for you and your family, and not just following a formula because of what else it worked for them, but to really figure out what works in your instance. I think that's important.
Yeah. And, sometimes we're like, I don't know what I'm good at, or you don't realize like that what you do is a skill that others don't have. So I've encourage people, like, ask your partner, like, hey, what am I really good at? Don't be sarcastic about it.
Yeah, I know.
Or like ask your friends or ask your coworkers, like what skills, like, what skills you put on LinkedIn. Are you organized? Are you like a morning person? I don't know if you put morning person on LinkedIn. I'm clearly not
that
on
could be part of being organized and like a go get 'em. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyways, okay. So you created this new virtual workspace for yourself that accommodates your family and your husband's business, which is so dope. And coming to, cookbook land and what you've been working on most recently, you have launched this book that I have been working through the last couple weeks. And more than me, my husband has been working on it too. So this is the Easy Sheet Pan Cookbook, Ruthy's new awesome publication. I love seeing moms rolling out cool stuff like this. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today, because this is the age of kitchen tech. This is Instapot, air fryer, digital, literally everything.
Yeah.
And I want to know, what made you, with all your experience, decide to make a cookbook for sheet pans?
I feel like I often like to say that the sheet pan is kind of like the unsung hero of the kitchen. Like everyone's got one, but it only recently became like a cool thing to have. And not even really cool. The best thing I like about sheet pans is to get started with them, unlike an Instant Pot or an air fryer or anything, it's pretty inexpensive to get a high quality sheet pan. A high quality, like, I often like to say, I paraphrase this from a quote of Anthony Bourdain's, but he used to say, don't ever buy a saute pan that wouldn't cause serious harm if you brought it down on someone's head. And frankly, the same thing is true for a sheet pan. Like, I'm not advocating violence. Please don't use your sheet pan to hit anybody. But if you get like those kind of really flimsy ones from the dollar store, that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about sheet pan recipes that would be like in this book. A good quality heavy sheet pan is still probably under 20 bucks, maybe 25 tops if you go really high quality. And the barrier to entry is so low because you're just putting food on a pan, putting it in a hot oven, and then you have dinner. And like you can get really high tech with it as well. Like I make a paella with my sheet pans. I can do slow roasted, different. I like to build layers on the pans using foil and racks and stuff like that. But you don't have to. You can start really basic, really low key, and make good quality. My first sheet pan cookbook was called the Healthy Sheet Pan Cookbook, showing how you can make all kinds of meals with no added sauces or heavy creams or lots of oils or anything like that, or frying. And then with this one, the Easy Sheet Pan Cookbook, it builds on the Healthy Sheet Pan Cookbook, and it shows the ease of just cooking with this really high quality, like a high quality, inexpensive, easy kitchen gadget.
Brilliant. So at one point in my fitness coaching career, I've been doing this for a decade, I decided to also start a baking business, which I love to bring up because I make apparently pretty good biscotti, which pairs well with my coffee. So whenever I went shopping for all the supplies, I got industrial, went to the restaurant supply store and got industrial, the stuff kitchens use.
Nice.
Sheet pans. Actually, I think these are sheet pans. And they are the best ones.
They're indestructible.
You can't go wrong. You need a good edge. I've had like the air bake, the ones that have like a gap between the top and the bottom layer. And I'm like, water's getting in there somehow. And I don't want to know.
Well, then you have to be really careful also with what's leaking off the sides. You need to have, I say, about at least a half an inch to an inch of a rim. It needs to be fully rimmed all the way around for a good pan, because if you think about the way that the heat, that dry heat in the oven is hitting the ingredients, you need that rim in order to keep a level of moisture there, but that they're getting the caramelization coming in from the hot air. So you have to think about how, I mean, you don't have to, I do, because I think it's interesting, but you have to think about how that air is working inside the oven in order to bring the flavor out of the ingredients. So the rim and the heaviness and the way that it conducts heat are very important and inexpensive, but very important.
You are going into like Alton Brown level knowledge with sheet pans, and this is amazing because I never think about my heat. I just know to like rotate my cookies and put them on different racks halfway through.
Something that's using heat in your oven, that's important.
Yeah. Okay, so going a little bit deeper about what you know about sheet pans, can we talk for a second about like parchment versus aluminum foil versus nothing? Like
or the silicone, or those baking pad thing.
Yeah. So when does it matter? When do I need to use one versus the other, or does it matter?
I think it's really up to you and what your, also the ingredients, it varies. I tend to not use anything, even, and a lot of my recipes will sometimes call for it. And even still, if I'm cooking, I don't really use them. I don't like using aluminum foil because I do if I have to, if I'm going to be using something that's got a high sugar content where I don't feel like scrubbing later on. But that's really what you would want to think about when if you don't feel like scrubbing, if there's a sugar amount that's going to make your food, whether it's natural sugars or whatever, to stick to the pan, you want to think about using parchment or foil or a silicone baking mat or whatever. They're not really my jam, but it's just because I'm kind of a naturalist. I don't mind getting down and dirty and like scrubbing off a pan. But I think that's really more of a personal opinion as to when you would use this. And I've never really used the silicone baking mats. So,
okay. Yeah. So I have Silpat, like the silicone mats, but they're the ones for French macaroons.
Oh yeah.
So I can know exactly how big.
Yeah, those are very handy actually. And or the numbered parchment paper that has everything listed out. That is extremely helpful in instances like that.
Yeah, I think I grew up, by grew up I mean like I entered my marriage not knowing anything about cooking, like super basic skills, and I think I had this fear of things burning or sticking to the pan and being ruined. So I've been using parchment paper for my entire marriage, and it's cool to know that like I probably don't need it. Oh. And I think that's really important to recognize as like a limiting belief whenever we're thinking of like, oh, I want to make this, I have a sheet pan, but I don't have any parchment paper. Oh
yeah. I mean, it's just a little elbow grease. And honestly, I think sometimes when it comes to a parchment paper, there's still that extra layer that creates a moisture that can hinder the caramelization, and the flavor comes from caramelization. So that's also where I'm kind of a naturalist when it comes to the pan. I want to get those deep flavors and those deep colors that come best when you're not using any kind of a barrier. They still happen, but they come best, I think, when you don't have a barrier.
Oh, that's really interesting. And you mentioned, you keep saying like being a naturalist, being a purist. I dig that vibe, because one of the phrases that I've stolen from, I don't even know who it is, but beginners complicate and experts simplify.
I've never heard that before, and I love it.
You can take it. It's not mine.
I love
but so, when people are thinking, when moms are thinking like, oh, I want to eat healthy. What's the new trend thing? Oh, Instapot. Oh my God, there's so many buttons. Like I've been sticking to crock pot cooking more than Instapot, because like I know my crock pot.
Yeah, I know
what happens when things go in there, and I know I'm not going to screw
when you can watch things, you can kind of peek up looking underneath the lid. You don't get that with the Instant Pot,
I know, and I'm not bashing the Instant Pot by any means.
Same, I'm obsessed with mine. Yeah.
Just to know, just for moms to know that like you don't need the super fancy tech. You don't have to buy the newest thing if you're looking to start cooking more in the kitchen, prepping your meals, bringing your kids in and showing them what cooking is like.
Yeah. And that's even more so true with the sheet pan, for sure.
Right. They can help chop based on the age. You can help them put it on the tray. I think this is a really good segue for whatever reason, to talk about our giveaway. So this is a giveaway episode. I love doing things. I love giving gifts to people. It's my love language. So for those in the group who are watching live or in the group catching the replay, if you comment with what your favorite kitchen item is and what makes it special to you, you'll be entered to win a copy of Ruthy's Easy Sheet Pan Cookbook. So it could be a fish spatula that you love because it's super functional.
It could be the Instant Pot. Yeah.
It could be the Instant Pot. It could be your grandma's cookbook that she got from her super great grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
So if you comment what your favorite kitchen item is, you will be entered. So this will go all week. We'll choose a winner on Friday by random.
Nice.
That doesn't make sense. But that's so cool. And thank you, Ruthy, for including this giveaway in this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I bring the gospel of sheet pan.
Tell me to preach the good word, my friend. So speaking of bad segues, let's I told you I'm not a professional talk show host. I'm just rolling with it.
You don't need to be.
This is not my first job. So this next topic is something that I could talk about all the live long day. It's a foundation, core, kind of, I don't know, core belief, core pillar of my online coaching business with my moms. It's being proactive with your health. And in the kitchen specifically, that is meal prepping and meal planning. So being the expert, Ruthy, what is something that people often get completely wrong when they're cooking or planning their meals?
I think the biggest thing that I see that kind of hinders people from planning their meals is that they think that everything needs to get planned out. And then they get to Wednesday and they're getting discouraged because they're like, I don't want to make this. Or my daughter came home and reminded me we had a ballet recital, or there was something trips you up halfway through the week and you're like, oh, I'm just going to order pizza. So I think the best way to get into meal planning is to plan to fail. Always have backup plans. I talk a lot about having a meal kit, like your own personal meal kits that you throw in the freezer. And I depend on those a lot because when I'm writing out my meal plan, I keep it loose and I try to leave room for error. And I don't try and be perfect all the time. And I think that people get overwhelmed by thinking I need to plan breakfast and lunch and snacks and dinner and all of this kind of stuff. And just trying to work with what you already have, I think is the best way forward when it comes to meal planning.
Can you expand a little bit on what this meal kit looks like?
Yeah. So, when you get like those Blue Apron or HelloFresh or anything like those big boxes, and they have they have the ingredients all planned out and portioned out. You may have to do a few small things, but for the most part, they make it really easy for you. And then they come with a recipe and ingredients list. So you can totally do that for yourself. Just measure out different items. Like one that I like to use as an example a lot would be enchiladas. So you'd make your own meal kit, grab a Ziploc bag, put in some tortillas, put in some shredded chicken, measure out your, corn or your salsa verde or anything like that, and your cheese, put it all together in a bag, label enchiladas, and stick it in your freezer. So you can pull it out on a night where you really need to kind of fall back on your own meal plan, and you're not grabbing pizza, you're not making something maybe unhealthy, you've already got it portioned out. And if you need to, you can kind of steal from that sometimes if you're making dinner and you realize that you didn't have the shredded chicken. So you've already got things portioned out in a manageable size in your freezer, ready to be grabbed and cooked. So yeah, a DIY meal kit.
That's brilliant. And I don't know why I haven't thought of this. So it takes away the high cost of the meal kit. And I'm sure everybody at some point got a meal kit once because it was like a really great deal. But then when the promotion was over, you're like, oh, I can't afford this.
I've done that. Yeah.
Every week. Yeah. So this allows you to be like, well, I can do that.
And it's a lot less work than like making a lasagna and and getting the noodles and layering everything and going through all those steps. Why wouldn't you just cook the lasagna then? In this way, you're just taking kind of some already prepped ingredients. You're already buying the shredded cheese from the store. You're already like combining a salsa or whatever. And then you're putting them together and putting them in the fridge. It's a lot less work overall than a lot of freezer meals can be.
So it's like enchiladas is something that your family is willing to eat regularly. You could make like 5 of these bags at once.
They're great if you have a baby coming, or if you know a friend who's got a baby coming, where they're kind of getting out of that 3-month, pressure window, and they're starting to get back into the kitchen and they're not quite ready to cook anything. It's a really good gift or it's a good gift for yourself to have in the freezer for those kind of days too.
Oh, I love it. So this is really cool. And I love that we're having this conversation, because the way I approach meal prepping and planning in advance is a lot of bulk batch cooking. So
which is great.
Point. Yeah. So there's different ways that you can be proactive about the way that you're cooking your meals, because let's face it, nobody has time when 5 o'clock rolls around. No one has the brain power to curate a fully functional, healthy enough meal every single day. So taking that little extra bit of time, maybe on Sundays or on Mondays, whatever day that you have that extra bit of energy, time, quiet time, alone time in the kitchen, put your headphones on, listen to a podcast, and just put stuff together in advance.
It's a very manageable way to kind of meal prep, and like it also takes that overwhelm of a big batch prep, which I love and I depend on and I have my own membership for, and like I love batch meal prep. But if you're not quite ready for that, doing something that's manageable is also helpful. It's just not letting yourself get overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. You have a membership for it. Do you want to, plug that real quick and tell
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's called Prep Sesh. It's pretty low key. I just, I have an app that's coming out in the next week or so where you can pull in recipes and grocery lists and a prep plan. So it takes the recipes from my website, and you can pick and choose whatever you want, put together your own meal plan, and it pulls out together a prep plan from that. So it's not just recipes, but it gets you a grocery list and then the prep plan, which is really important. So it says, the prep plan will have maybe 4 recipes included, and it'll say, start the chicken here, start the rice here, while the rice is cooking, get this ready. And it breaks down, it just removes all of that. A lot of that overwhelm can come from the understanding the mental bandwidth it's going to take to work through a prep session, to get all of your recipes done and everything. It just removes that first step so that it makes it easier to get into a prep situation.
That's perfect. And what a better way to like utilize the most amount of your time.
Yeah.
To like get this all done at once. So
and to make it usable. Yeah. I like to do just 4 recipes at once, and that usually sets me up for the week. And then they're not necessarily freezer meals, but I'll prep them like with those DIY prep kits. And then all you do is you combine stuff and you put it in the oven, you put it in an Instapot, you put it in a slow cooker, you put it on the stovetop. And it's really easy. It's $5.99 a month. It's pretty simple.
Dope. So wrapping this up, what is one action step that you think a busy mom who's watching could take to incorporate some of what we talked about today?
I think start where you're already comfortable would be really important. So if you want to get involved in meal prepping or sheet pan cooking, start looking at a recipe that you already know, you already like I mentioned, those enchiladas, and then figure out a way to make things easy for you. So start where you're comfortable, start where you're already nice, and then think through the whole process. And that's I think I'm wording this correctly. I feel like it's coming out jumbled, but work through the whole process in your head and try and make things easier. Think about, I like to say, what would future Ruthy wish I had done? And think about what future you would wish that you had done. You would have wished that you've already chopped all those onions. So get those chopped and put them in the freezer. Like, do the small little things that can give you a leg up later on in the week when it comes to meal prep. And that helps. And that rings true when it comes to sheet pan cooking as well.
I love that. Start where you're at. And I would suggest to clean your refrigerator. Starting with a clean fridge, that's a happy fridge.
That makes all the difference. Doesn't that feel good when you get it done? Yes.
And yes, it looks like a showroom floor. No, it never looks like a showroom.
And you always find something that you're like, oh, totally forgot I had carrots.
Oh, no, I'm like, oh, I forgot I had
Oh, there's a lot of that
Oh,
too.
I
Yeah.
know,
Get rid
leftover
of the
was the
old
big one.
condiments. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Ruthy, it's been an absolute delight. For those who are watching, be sure to check out her website, percolatekitchen.com. Follow our Instagram, same deal, Percolate Kitchen, and grab your copy of Easy Sheet Pan Cookbook, Healthy Sheet Pan Cookbook. Support this mama because she is doing such awesome stuff to help make your life easier. So thank you again, Ruthy.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Oh my gosh, please come hang out when you're back in New York City.
I will. I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Perfect. So, ladies, mamas, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to keep the conversation going in the comments. I'd like to hear your takeaways and answer any questions that you might have. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to the show. And if you're not already in here, click that link to join Strong as a Mother online community. I cannot wait to meet you. Until next week, stay strong, stay caffeinated, and I will see you in the city.